Once you've made your purchase of the engine, it doesn't really stop there, because now you have to go ahead and go through the proper break-in procedure with the engine to ensure that, for one thing, your warranty stays intact. And the other thing is that this engine lives a long, healthy life after you've installed it and put all that work into what was installing it into that specific vehicle. And so when you get your new crate engine, what it's going to include is going to include an installation manual. And I know a lot of us would say, all right, well, I've built engines before, I know how this all works, and so I don't need these. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the car, put some oil in it, and go. I will tell you that there's a lot of good information in these manuals about what is necessary to make sure that this engine is broken in properly, and to make sure you don't have any problems after the installation, maybe 500 to 1,000 miles down the road. There's a lot of good information, and Blueprint does a real good job, just for an example, because you're going to get something similar if you were to buy a GM Performance engine or anyone else's engine for that matter. What you're going to notice is they have a checklist. They're going to have a checklist of all these things that they suggest you do for the break-in procedure of a new engine. And it'll start with just taking an inventory of what you received in the crate. You'll go through and see what actually was included, make sure everything's there, make sure nothing's damaged, things of that nature. If things are damaged, you know us here at Summit Racing Equipment, we're going to take care of it. We're going to solve your problem for you, no questions asked. The second thing they're going to go ahead and mention is that what are you going to do to go ahead and pre-lube the motor? And what that means is, all right, so how many quarts of oil does this engine take? What type of oil do they recommend? I will tell you, in this situation, in most engine situations, they're going to recommend a mineral-based oil, and every engine build is going to have a specific weight that's associated with that as well, depending on what they set the engine up with as far as bearing clearances and things of that nature. Then they're going to go ahead and tell you to pre-lube it, pre-lubing it with an actual engine pre-luber. If you don't own one, you're going to have to purchase one. In most cases, you can use an old shaft drive out of a distributor if you wanted to, but we do sell specific engine lubers as well to go ahead and get this accomplished. Usually the pre-lubing of an engine takes between 5 to 10 minutes of a new engine. I suggest you do it while the engine's actually on the stand before you put it in the vehicle, because a lot of times it's hard to get to that distributor hole, especially if it's a rear mounted distributor hole in the engine once the engine's been installed in the engine bay of the vehicle. The next thing you're going to talk about is coolant. They're going to tell you, hey, we suggest you run a specific coolant, this mixture, things of that nature. They're also going to mention things about maybe you should put a new radiator in there. Maybe the radiator that was originally in the vehicle caused a problem with the previous engine. And so they are going to talk about all the coolant requirements and also the cooling requirements when it comes to radiators and hoses and stuff like that. So then they're going to go ahead and mention fuel usage. Okay, fuel usage means that every engine has a specific compression ratio that's going to be associated with it, depending on which head you put on there and the size of the combustion chambers, which pistons are in it, and things of that nature. And so there's going to be certain fuel requirements because of that compression ratio. Here's the thing that a lot of people don't think about though. What weight is the vehicle that this is being installed in? Meaning that, is it a heavy vehicle or a light vehicle? Because that can affect the fuel rating as well as far as the octane goes that's necessary to withstand the knock properties that are associated with the load this engine is going to go ahead and be placed under. And so a lot of times you can go ahead and put a 11-1 compression motor in a Camaro, but you take that same engine and you were to put it in a full-size pickup or a 3/4 ton or 1 ton, and now all of a sudden the engine's pinging. Well, the reason why it's pinging is because it's underneath a lot more load in that vehicle comparative to the lighter vehicle. Here's what's going to happen if you run the wrong fuel, especially if it has hypereutectic pistons in it. You're probably going to break in one of the ring lands off the pistons. It's very common. It just cannot withstand that amount of pinging over time, and the next thing you know, or detonation I should say, over time, and next thing you know, you've broken a piston, and now your engine's not covered under warranty anymore. Because what's going to happen is they're going to see that, they're going to know exactly what happened, and they're going to go ahead and say, well, you know what, this is something that you inflicted on the engine, and it was not something that was created by it being of poor quality. The other thing that can affect the fuel octane also is what you set your timing at when you installed your distributor. There are certain timing recommendations that are going to be listed in these instructions that the manufacturer is going to suggest you go ahead and adjust the timing to for any new build. So all these things are very important when it comes to going ahead and installing a new crate engine in your vehicle. And they all could have a drastic effect on the longevity of it and whether or not it's actually going to be covered under warranty in the end. So it's very important that you read these instructions. Thanks for watching this latest episode on Crate Engines, where we are your #1 source for crate engines and crate engine accessories.